Welcome to my engine compartment review of a series of HPI models, 1/43rd scale die-cast cars. So these are all Le Mans cars from the Le Mans 24-hour race, including a few winners, the Jaguar XJR-9, the Mazda 787B, the Newman Jost Porsche of 1984, perhaps, I'm not sure, the number 7, possibly this Mercedes here, number 63, and possibly, I don't think the Porsche in the foreground, the GT1 won, but these all have removable engine compartments. So if I pick up the Mercedes, I'll just show you how that is. I'm just going to pull that off, and there we go. Right, so you can see what's coming. So I'm going to have to spread these out a little bit, and we will create some space. I think if we do these in age of the actual car order rather than any other particular order, or my guess at the age of the actual car. So we're going to start with this Porsche 962, which I think is a 1984 car, Le Mans winning Newman Porsche. So I'm not really going to look at the amazing detail of these HPI models from the outside, but they are my favourite brand of model. The detail is amazing. We're just going to be looking at the engine bays. So I'm going to take off this rear cover, and it is clearly metal, die-cast metal, painted on the underside there. I'm not going to particularly look at that because we're interested in the engine compartment. So of course this is a flat 6 engine, Porsche engine, air-cooled, I believe, maybe with water-cooled heads, I don't remember, but being a flat engine, it's quite low in the engine compartment, so it's hard to see too much detail of the actual engine, but you've got a load of ancillary detail which is excellent. So you've got these structural pieces that reach from the monocoque back to a kind of a cross brace here. So you've got amazing detail in there with the cross brace, and then you've got the damper spring units up here inboard. You've got well, just phenomenal detail. The gearbox is obviously a long thing on this car. There, and so we've got various upper links on the suspension. These things that look like springs, but I suspect they're brake cooling ducts. Sorry, there and there. These are the spring damper units inboard on some kind of rocker arm push rod, I would guess, not pull rod. So they're pushing the springs down, compressing the springs by pushing on them instead of expanding the springs. Some kind of control unit by the look of it on the gearbox. I'm not sure why. Maybe someone can tell me if these are sequential. I don't think they were even sequential back then. They were just normal H-pattern manual gearboxes. So you've got the rear Venturi here, and you can see where the Venturi comes around the side of the engine, but being a flat engine, the Venturi couldn't be so effective. It couldn't be so large near the center line of the engine, so center line of the car, because the heads were in the way. So the Venturi came from quite far outside. You can see a carbon fiber looking pattern on there. So yeah, utterly fantastic. I love that. I like the red of what must be the engine block or some kind of, right, okay, because these are air-cooled blocks, water-cooled heads, obviously you have a shroud over the engine block to help funnel the air across the fins that are cast into the engine block. So that's what that red piece down there is. So fantastic. I don't display the cars like this. Maybe I should. You can display it with the engine compartment cover next to it if you'd like. Okay, so let's just see how easily that goes on back onto the car. Nicely, it's a good fit. There's a bit of, you can hear there's a bit of play, but that's fine because you just push it forward and it's just in its exact right spot. You know that. And if you look at the alignment of the casting on the car. There's a slight step inwards just there, not too bad, but you can take account of that. It's brilliantly done, absolutely fantastic. Right, I'm going to put that one out of the way over here, and I'm going to pick up my two XJR-9s. So I've got a plain presentation vehicle. Whether it was a test vehicle is another matter. It's just probably a fictional vehicle. Let's bring off the now you'll see on this one the rear wing is here, so that rear wing this time, unlike the 962 Porsche, is going to stay on the car, and we're just going to lift that up, and it fits just between. And what a gorgeous engine. Let's just see if that's the same as the full silk cut colour scheme car, and if it's identical we'll just look at this one. So we've got the same anodized blue, we've got the same red bits there. So yeah, we're just going to look at the colour schemed car, and I'm going to put my plain colour one to one side. Now, I bought the plain colour one first because you can look for these cars for years before buying one at a price you like, so it took me a while to find what I wanted. Okay, look at this, glorious. Look at those intake trumpets, and those blue anodized pieces will probably be the throttle butterfly actuation rods, I guess. I might be wrong. You can tell me what you think, but you've got around that, you've got half of the box, the airbox, and if we look here, you can see effectively this is the other half of the airbox here, molded into the engine cover. So you've got good detail on that. Okay, we're not going to go into the engine cover too much, but it did seem to fit nicely. We'll put it back on in a minute. Okay, so we've got what appear to be heat shielding over the let me just get that a bit closer. Heat shielding over the exhaust manifolds, and then you can see the head, Jaguar V12 I think it says on the head, so that's great detail there. You may well be able to see better than me because of the macro, or how good we can get the image blown up on your large screen TV. Sorry about that notification, it's not you, it's me. Right, okay, so what else have we got? So the exhaust manifolds, gorgeous there, coming up over the suspension. You can see the floor of the car inside there with some kind of heat shield. You've got some kind of red hosing there coming from close to this knacker duct. I'm not sure it's associated with the knacker duct. Let's have a look. Not sure. If we come around this way, we'll probably see, yeah, there's a couple of radiators there. Probably the smaller oil radiator and a larger water radiator. Interesting that they're sideways on, actually. They're obviously getting a lot of airflow in through the side of the engine there, and they must have a low pressure in the engine to just aerodynamically to pull that through. And of course on this side you've got these vents in the side and going through another water radiator. So yeah, those red piping must be the water radiators. You've got anodized look caps on the oil radiator and the water radiator. Lovely, fantastic. Oh yeah, alongside the airbox here you've got these reinforcement structural pieces going from, again, the monocoque. Got to be careful not to touch that aerial there. Beautifully delicate aerial. So you've got these struts going from the monocoque to what appears to be bolted into the head, perhaps. Maybe they come around to the block, but the block will be a structural part of the chassis. And there you've got the gearbox afterwards with good detail. You've got some brake cooling ducts sticking up there. Let's look at them from the front. Okay, yeah, in there. Plenty of suspension detail. Yeah, fantastic. Okay, yeah, and again you've got a carbon fibre look on the monocoque. So yeah, very, very nice. Excellent. Let me just tweak that position. Okay. Yeah, beautiful. Okay, so we've got a blue container on the other side. That's probably the dry sump oil system there, I guess. But yeah, I mean, you'd be able to get a book about this car and you'd be able to look at this and say, right, that's that, that's this. Excellent, brilliant. Lovely to see that. Right, I'm going to put the engine cover back on. Let's see how nicely it fits. So it's a tight fit in front of the rear wing, and it's a tight fit over the tyres. Actually, I can feel the tyres kind of getting in the way. It doesn't want to necessarily go over it. So lining it up, getting it on, and beautiful. And interestingly, you can see down into the engine bay through the air intake on the top. Okay, that was absolutely fantastic, wasn't it? Okay, so now we're going to look at the Mazda 787B Le Mans winning. I think it was 1989. Oh, was it 1992? Oh dear. Anyway, right, so again, the rear wing is fixed to the chassis of the car, not to the engine cover. So I'm going to pull that off and we'll see what we've got. And of course, we've got a similar issue that we had with the Porsche 962 in that, no, this isn't a flat six or a flat engine, but it is a rotary engine, which is a tiny engine. Because this is a four-rotor non-turbo engine, I believe. Maybe it was turbo. No, surely it was turbocharged. I don't know. Let's see if we can see turbos in there. I can see intakes coming from an airbox on that side. And I'm guessing the exhaust system is directly underneath that. Yeah, it would be, because, of course, the air has to come in on one side of the trochoidal-shaped combustion area. Well, no, the combustion area isn't trochoidal shaped, but the rotor is. And then it has to, that intake air has to go all the way around as the trochoidal rotor rotates and then spit out just before the intake. So yeah, the exhaust is down there. I'm not seeing the turbo in there at all. Someone could put in comments whether it's turbocharged or not. I don't think it was. But a four rotor car, so a very small engine. Most rotary engine Mazdas are two rotor. There was a Cosmo three rotor, but no production four rotors. Anyway, so tiny little engine. You've got structural cross members on above it. Well, what else have we got detail wise? Well, I don't know a great deal about rotary engines, so I'm not going to speculate too much there. But we've got good suspension detail, springs. You've got, I guess, you've got a cross member there above the gearbox that the gearbox is mounted to. Oil cooler for the gearbox at the back. Some kind of, maybe that's a dry sump for the gearbox. I don't know what that would be over here. Yeah, okay, you've got the intake on that side and you've got the engine cooling on this side. And of course the engine cooling would have been huge on this thing because they're not efficient engines really. So there we go. But the airbox, it's got a nice carbon fibre look. So yeah, you can see the diffuser coming through there. Only at the back. It's not as long a diffuser as on the Newman Porsche, which came right up alongside the engine. But I guess that's a rules restriction issue. So yeah, excellent. I mean, not a great deal to look at, so, but it's different. And that's one of the special things about this particular one. Right, let's try putting the engine cover back on. I did have a silver one of these from HPI, but of course once I bought the actual Le Mans winning liveried car, I got rid of the silver one. That is an extremely snug fit. I reckon I could hold that upside down and that engine cover won't come off. Yep, doesn't come off. No rest of it coming off. It just fits perfectly. What an amazing... How they can get it to fit so snugly onto the rest of the car is beyond me, but fantastic. Okay, great. So now, let's see. Now somehow I've managed to skip the Sauber Mercedes, which must have been before the Jaguars, actually. So let's bring those into play. We've got two of those as well, just like the Jaguars, we had two of those. So sorry, I'm going back in time. And let's take the engine compartment cover off that one and off this one. And yes, they're identical under the cover. So we'll get rid of this earlier car with the AEG Olympia livery, and we'll go with the proper Silver Arrow full Mercedes-Benz one. Now, that rear wing is not a happy bunny, so something's got damaged there. I think I can push it back down onto the mountings. Oh, not going to do it on camera though. Okay, so looking at this, this is a Mercedes V8, so it'll be derived from their production engine, just like the Jaguar was derived from their production V12, and the 962 had its V6 derived, flat 6 derived from the Porsche 911 flat 6. So got a hulking V8. These have got a proper V8 noise if you hear them go past. I saw them in 1989 maybe at Brands Hatch. Anyway, plenty of conventional detail there. A carbon fibre airbox on top. No sign of a air intake here for the airbox, so I'm not sure where the air is coming from. Possibly these knacker ducts on the side, so let's see where we can see the feed might be coming from. Is this a turbo engine again? Let's see. Interestingly, the exhaust is venting out sideways, so you can see the exhaust tip there, and you can see the manifold. So it's going 4 into 1 with what appears to be a small wastegate. Oh, I'm touching it again. A small wastegate pipe just above the exhaust. So I'm guessing this is a turbo here, and that's probably the wastegate actuator on the top of it. That would make sense, because then you've got these orange hoses in there which will be taking the air back from probably the intercoolers. I'd imagine it's got intercoolers. Yeah, and if I look at the side of the car here, you've got these big ducts which are probably feeding into the intercoolers. And then you've got the air going into the intake manifold, so carbon fibre. Okay, excellent. Plenty of detail there. You can see detail on the heads. Interesting stuff. So springs, longitudinally mounted springs, interestingly enough. So the way they've linked the linkages off the suspension causes the suspension to compress, the springing to compress that way. I wonder if somehow that reduces... Okay, so look, it's going to halfway up the structure of the car, these reinforcing struts going from the monocoque back down towards this piece that holds the gearbox or is attached to the gearbox. So there's some kind of, probably a way of transmitting force directly up to there in the suspension instead of dealing with it there and then having to send it through the chassis up to that, those forces up that way. So it might actually make it a lighter weight structure at the back. I'm not sure, but okay, we've got the gearbox is kind of buried in this one under a what looks like an oil cooler on top, 2-element oil cooler, and then we've got a structural piece across the back which obviously holds the bodywork and the wing and all of those kinds of things. So again, you've got a carbon fibre effect on the Venturi. I don't know what this round pillar is here. It looks like it's going to the underside. There's nothing under there to show what that would be. But yeah, interesting. We've got a bit of blue, a bit of orange. There's a bit of interest there. Okay, I'm going to put the lid back on that, see how it fits. Nicely, look at the seam there. It's just fine. There's a bit of a step there. You can probably see, but it's perfect on this side. Anyway, the alignment on that, you wouldn't not have an opening, because cars with 43rd scale model cars with openings tend to have really awful opening shut lines, but these are proving so far to be excellent, which makes it worth having. You know, I like to display them closed. I want to see the shape of the car, not particularly the engine. Anyway, so that was an interesting one. We've got the last one to look at now, the Porsche GT1. It might have been called the 911 GT1. Anyway, so this car is the later version, because they had the early 993 look one, and then they changed to the headlights and tail lights of the 996 car. So, right, let's have a look in this. So, what's really different about this one is the engine cover goes all the way to the back and the wing is on top and in the way. So the wing here is a separate piece, which you just take off separately. So I'm just going to dump that over there. Now I'm able to open that up. Okay, so I'm going to take that off. That came off quite nicely. Let's just have a look at the detail there. You've got some, intakes running down through, nicely molded thing. Okay, let's have a look at this. Ooh, this one looks interesting. I love this airbox. Looks very modern. And you've got all sorts of detail here. So again, a flat six engine, turbocharged, just like the 962, but obviously a development. Whether the whole engine by this point was water-cooled, I don't know. Looking at it, I don't see any kind of shroud over the engine block, but I'm really struggling to see under that airbox. We've got these short throw springs. That, of course, doesn't tell you what the suspension travel is. That's just the way it's multiplied for the springs. They don't need to be too big. And I wonder if these look like damper reservoirs on top of it. So you've got good detail there. You've got some brass colour to the left-hand end of the springs, which is a nice look. You've got some. Okay, let's see. So let's start with the. We've got these two exhaust pipes. They're going forwards to, I guess, what must be mufflers, silencers, exhaust silencers, and then going forward. Ooh, I'm looking for a turbo. Turbos are under there. You can see the big. Oh, okay. There's the mufflers. Then the exhaust pipe comes forward towards what looks like a wastegate on top of it. There, it's the wastegate on top of a turbo, I guess, but I'm struggling to see in there, of course. Anyway, and then we've got some kind of air hose or piping coming up here to the inlet manifold, which will be under the airbox. So whilst the airbox looks nice and dramatic, it does hide some of the engine, and again, it's really buried in there. Sorry about that noise. Buried in the engine, so you're not seeing too much of the engine. You can't really identify the heads that very well. They're there, and you can see something of them. 3 cylinders seen. You can kind of see some kind of detail which looks like it's a repeating pattern of 3 for the 3 cylinders on that side, the 3 cylinders on the other side. So anyway, out of these, what would I say was my favourite? Well, Jaguar engine bay was excellent with that anodized blue and the coloured exhaust there. The Porsche 962, lovely to see that retro stuff. Huge Venturis is a great talking point, and you've got the red of that engine shroud, and so on and so forth. So that's pretty impressive too. The Mazda 787, they've all got their talking points, haven't they? But if I were to say drama, I'd probably have to go with the Jaguar. Let's look at the Mercedes one last time. Gosh. Oh. Yeah, I love the exhaust system on the Jaguar. Let's just bring that over because it wasn't in view when I was just taking off just now. Yeah, I think the Jaguar has to be the one. So almost the most archaic engine, single overhead cams, no doubt still, well, certainly on the production car, but it'll be a 60-degree V12, I guess. Let's see if we can see the shape of the V12 from the back. Sorry about that. Anyway, thank you for watching. I've really enjoyed going through that. I've never really looked at that in detail myself and compared the cars. So it's been great to get my little collection of Le Mans HPI model cars out. I've got a load more reviews of HPIs of Le Mans cars and touring cars, German touring cars, various production cars, road cars. HPI, I do love them, and I've got a load of Spark models in 43rd scale as well. But I've also got some reviews on the channel of some 12th scale, 18th scale, and 64th scale. So do subscribe if you'd like to hear from me again. And thank you for watching.